waiting, huh?
Yeah, I didn't really think it would come to this, but another episode long overdue in the Shitcast premiere. Hello, everybody. It's me, Dogfather. Well, I don't really know how to really preface this other than, well, it's good to be back. I guess it has been about a year since the last installment. It wasn't even a shitcast installment. I just posted a video saying I was going to start shitcasting again. And well, it's taken its time. It's taken a bit of energy and resources to muster the spirit back into trying to get this going again. But here we are. It's just been one of those things that I've been yearning for. And it's taken a little bit of time, but I think I found that time, and I'm hoping that we can get back into this with really a strong spirit, really strong sense of things. Man, shitcasting. It's going to be really something to try to get my footing, regain my composure. I feel like I've said this a million times already. Just going over in my head, well, how do I do this again? You know? But I think we should just let the gameplay sort of take over. It's going to be one of those games. I tell you what, I picked this one out because it's one that was recommended to me a long time ago. And it's supposed to be a heavy-duty, real spectacle, if you will. Well, we'll have to be the ones to decide that, as transport is already moving out from Photon, our first contender. A familiar face already introduced himself into the annals of shitcasting cinema, if you will. And we've got Nappy here, who's already sent his ACU down. Meanwhile, just as he's treading the waters, Photon decided to just take the mexes here with his engineers, and well, he didn't go straight into building a factory. He just decided, I'll just take these and try to eventually get a factory down. Nappy's already got a couple, well, little labs going here and gunship to respond. So even though this factory is going to be pumping out a few units before it eventually decides to go down with the ship, he's going to already slow down his eco and probably his attention span, no doubt. Wow. Already some kick-ass action just from the get-go. But Nappy will no doubt take that out of the equation, get his footing again, as he's already got these 3 islands, well, pretty much uncontested. Photon, meanwhile, is taking a sweet time. No, there he goes with the transport. He's going to try to comfortably situate himself onto this island. Doesn't seem like there's any move orders or any commands at all to try to drop any here. There's a scout already set there and an engineer who's already getting himself a factory there. I'm fearful that, well, yeah, by the time he even attempts to try to take this, there's going to be production already on the way. No doubt some tanks and other supporting units to really reinforce that island. And more drops. I'm already putting this at +5, but I assure you that this is going to be quite the long haul. Dropping engineers once again, just to try to take some mexes, disrupt his opponent, distract him a little bit. And he's going to go with an ACU upgrade, T2. He's got quite a bit of mass income just going on his own, just with a few bits of mexes that he already has. However, if he's not quick to the draw, he's going to definitely find himself a bit of a predicament, or at least in one. Nappy's also going to respond in kind with a... Well, he's already got it done. He's already beat me to the punch. You can see how sort of sluggish I am to try to get back onto the grind. But really, it's going to be the gameplay to speak for itself, and there's going to be a ton of that. Back up to 5. Don't want this to really span out too quickly. We got to absorb all the details as we go along. Yeah, Photon, quite the infamous player, quite known for his ambitious tactics. He loves upgrading the ACU, and if I'm not mistaken, he's quite prone to dropping them. I'm hopeful that we'll get to see that. Apparently loves to drop transports as well. He's once again committed to just putting his influence, his seeds all across the map. He's going to have a bit of a hard time trying to establish that, though, as it goes along. He's already got T3 already underway, too. Some T3 mexes, just one right now, but he's going to be quick on getting that up and running. But as you can see, Photon, he's just, I don't know what the hell this strategy is. Imagine he captured these just unmolested. He's going to have a fun time just screwing around with his opponent if he keeps this up. Although Nappy is definitely the aggressor here. He's got far more of his eco sort of invested into heavy duty units. He's got Navy, air superiority, pretty much because what little air that Photon has is just concentrated into just those inties. He has T2 air, and he's just starting to build into the Navy. And all the while, I'm very curious about these corner spots. These very secluded little, well, there's another one. Just he's going to make sure that he has every corner of the map just so that Nappy feels like he's boxed in. Corsair is just making some small work here and there. Nappy should be aware just how secluded his opponent is. Even though Photon may very well be just playing the long con. Wow. Photon is not phased. He is aptly surrounded. Is that compensating for much? Is that a little overkill? Not for Photon. He is well and truly prepared for just about anything. But you can see that even in spite the map presence that Nappy has, there's still little bits just leaking here and there. And oh my god, he is actually doing it. Photon whittling away at his opponent's psyche. There's going to be some interesting things going on here. Even SACUs. No doubt, yeah. T3 air is definitely on the way. And he's got T3 mexes going. Almost, is that double the mass eco? Not quite, but even for as little as he possesses, he is controlling a substantial amount of eco. Just whoring it down. Situating himself so that way he'll have tech advantage, at least, in this situation. Although, this is how units sort of pay for themselves. At least, not in eco, but in firepower. Oh, whoa. What happened? Well, that's definitely new. Apologize for that. That was one of those exceptional bugs that seems to randomly present themselves from, the generous offerings of FAF. Maybe the client was struggling to understand or comprehend just how innately insane this replay must be for it to just simply crash the way it did. Well, Certainly not going to be the end of it, truly. As we try to resume from where we left off, yeah, pretty much we've got a whole ton of action sort of boiling up now. Overall, Eco is definitely strong for both players, although certainly could be much more favorable for Nappy had he really the omniscient, omnipotent, I don't know, just the overall foresight to use all the eco that he has at his disposal. But he will be applying pressure with this Navy as it comes along. T3 Navy now for Photon. I no doubt there's going to be Neptunes and battleships of the like to contest with the slowly encroaching T2 Navy from Nappy. There's T3 Air, though, from both players. And there's a whole lot of air defense. T3 Static AA to cover Photon's core base, at the very least. How is he going to protect his overall flank here at the expansion? Well, it's going to be pretty hard to really discern. There's incoming units now in transports. Looks like there's going to be T3 land units to try to dispose of that. The Navy now is attempting to pincer on this little group of units here, and although there are a fair bit of frigates, nothing's really going to be able to hold out now with these destroyers following in suit. Yeah, this is going to be a lost T3 naval HQ, I'll tell you that. Well, there's a few bricks here from Nappy. That's definitely going to mop up anything that's going on there. Wow. You would think that this is an imposing situation for Photon to be in, but we are all the wiser. We know that he's been through significantly much worse. Yeah, those bricks are going to mop up, and there's even a strap bomber there to try to make sure that that stays in place. Funnily enough, the Mantis are staying behind. Maybe they too don't want to really get too heavily involved in all this shenanigan. More reinforcements on the way, though. There is that little T1 sub. But, well, now there's Ravagers being built by Photon. I suppose that's certainly one way to take care of that situation. Try to get a idea now just what's going on. Nothing being done still about these two mexes. He hasn't even taken the third one. He feels that might just be a little too cruel. It would win the game already on its own merits, but you know. Here comes the strap bombers now. This island is being promptly wiped out, and here goes quite a bit of the T1 mobile AA, which I'd say is Nappy's just doing Photon a favor. You really don't need to be spending that much just to be maintaining this substantial amount of T1 units. All this eco being thrown away now. You could say the same about how much fucking static air defense he has, though. Good grief. I'd say the tide is certainly swinging, but it really has been, at least on paper, just one-sided ordeal. It'd be very unfortunate if the game crashed by now. I'm praying to the dev gods, as gracious as they are, that doesn't happen. Bricks are now dropping again, this time on the core island, but there are T2 artillery installations. I mean, Photon is certainly equipped to handle some of these predicaments. It's almost as though he has the foresight. There's he's not going to really lose that T3 max, I don't think. Not enough DPS there to manage that. Well, he certainly got other ways. He'll get some hardcore Navy being pumped down and threatening his shores, no doubt. Nappy's already mobilizing the bricks that he has that disposed of this island to try to move up. Although with those Ravagers, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. Has anything gone on with these corner expansions, if you will? Not much. These two are pretty much idle. There's certainly some being built here, although this one is actually upgrading to T3. More strat bombers arriving to sort of harass? Well, I don't know really if Nappy is making much of a difference. It's not like players are known, at least in this bracket of gameplay, to really eco and reclaim efficiently. How much eco is really... there's plenty to go around, but much of it is just sort of littered all over Photon's base as he turtles up. His response to the naval situation, I suppose, is just go right ahead. Plant your ass on my doorstep, but I've got I've got all these cannons just ready to point, just pointing at you. Don't know if this is going to really do much here. A little too close for comfort, no doubt. Yeah, not really going to be the right angle, if you will, to take that on. Geometry was not Nappy's, but, you know, well-versed, sort of, well, I was going to say some school course that he's taken, but I don't know. You can see how rusty I am just getting into this whole thing, right? How much time I've spent away from my calling, my artisan of FAF content. I've definitely been slacking. Needless to say, those bricks are going to stay put. I think they know their place now that those Ravagers and substantial amount of T2 artillery is installed onto the shores. They would share the same fate as those who have tried to approach them on the surface. Well, the ecos are pretty much well and truly balancing out. I'd say that Nappy is at least starting to catch on, but his eco is really lackluster. He's still got T1 mexes. Well, and none of them really capped, besides the ones right here. Some over here, but really there's a whole lot of eco that is just not being capitalized here. Well, do what you will, Nappy. At least he's got himself sort of the high ground to stand upon. Really wish he would take this, though. Or at least do something wild and wacky over here. His naval forces are moving up and... well, actually, that's quite a bit of transports moving out, but it's all T1. You dropped a couple bricks there, but what exactly is this going to do? I guess sort of draw out any beads of sweat that Photon could possibly have looking at this. Will they be able to take out the T3 mass extractor? Actually, they think they will. Although these T2 artillery are pretty decent for what they do, they're not really going to be able to handle... well, I'm sure there's a whole lot of friendly fire to be had. Yep. Yeah, well, these things go as they do. They go as they do. That's certainly a way to put it there, dog. And he changes his mind, drawing his transports back as he realizes, well, there's not much use to that. There's some sign of T3 naval units, as the first sign of it is coming in the form of Plan B, the strategic missile submarine. But meanwhile, far off into the distant corners of the universe, we have a couple of Atlantises being built. The T3 Navy sort of growing to the far corners, well beyond Nappy's, no doubt, intel range. This is going to be a hell of a surprise if that ends up developing. Spoilers? Maybe. I don't really recall much, but this is definitely one of those things that are now starting to really intrigue me. There's those SACUs that, or being pumped out. He's got Raz SACUs to boot, so that's going to just help his eco situation all the more. But what else would have done that? Just taking control of the map, in all honesty. Oh, geez. This is already going to be panning out to be a long game. I better speed this up some. There goes the little volleys there being sent out by the Plan B. They're not going to do much right now, but if they were to target those, it would be... There's no TMD. You would definitely have free reign to deal some damage. Tons of damage. What else is being brewed up? Nappy getting his own SACUs, maybe taking inspiration from what he's seeing. At least now we're getting a feasible number of strat bombers now moving into position. This might be the move that he's been planning. What he's been scheming up as they make their run for the T3 ACU, but he came prepared. Wow. He is quite the fortune teller there, because he packed himself ready. In the most literal sense, he's got on his back a ACU shield upgrade just to make sure that in any case of a sneaky little attempt like that he would survive the encounter. Well, we'll see how much more of this he can really endure. He's definitely got his contingency plan just sort of brewing up over in the corner. I'm really curious now. Has Nappy really discovered that, or has it just always been under his nose? That is really something. You know, he's posturing, making himself sort of like this omniscient or overreaching threat, but really, Photon's just been sort of planning himself rather comfortably in his little grid here. I don't know what he's really planning on doing to get himself out of this situation besides just, speaking of which, I think he just sort of... Is he watching this shitcast as it's unfolding? I swear. Photon is really a conjurer of many sort of inspirational tricks. Inspirational, I don't know if I'd call it that, but he's making his move. Just out of the blue. I'm sure Nappy is shitting himself wondering, where the fuck did all these things come from? I thought I had this whole thing under lockdown. We have protocols here, right? But no. These Atlantises have been a little bit busy. Stirring up some trouble. And I'm sure Nappy will be none the wiser. Although, as Nappy responds with ASFs, Photon needs to engage with his own to try to protect them. Because, yeah, wow. He's definitely going to make this really count. This battleship would do a lot of damage, but unfortunately, in conjecture? Ugh. My English is being absolutely brutalized by me and the one and only. That battleship goes down in conjuncture with the T2 artillery. The torpedo bombers are just absolutely mopping up any threat that was lying on the outskirts of Photon's base. I was about to say, Nappy really needs to draw himself out of the lull of his nap, because he's definitely got the firepower to win this engagement. As sloppy as it is, he eventually does come out on top. But will he catch on? Will he learn what's truly going on? Whatever happened to that T3 submarine? It's somewhere lying around. There it is, comfortably just parking itself a little close by, but along the shores of the little expansion that he's got here. Quite the little sneaky play, I'd say so. I don't know if this thing is actually... It is building a nuke. It's certainly not going to be as fast or efficient as probably the static one, but hey, I'm sure it'll do the job. It'll do the trick. This navy is slowly building up over here. Nappy still has no idea of its entire existence. But does Photon have nuke defense, I wonder? Because if that sub ends up being a problem, he may want to have some idea of how to protect himself against it. Photon, no doubt, has already come up with one. I'm sure he has one somewhere. At the rate he's been sort of being able to readily handle any available threat so far, Photon is all the wiser to the tricks that Nappy could possibly throw at him. Nappy is still done nothing about this. Even though Photon is locked up in the little corner that he has, he's still well and truly just out sustaining Nappy. Finally, though, the eco numbers seem to be favoring Nappy all the more. Goes to show just how, with a little bit of eco and awareness here, even in spite having so much and doing so little with it, how much of an advantage that can really give you. I like how he's even got T3 static AA up here. Not really the place to park your aircraft carriers. Very good units. Very good anti-air defense. But it's just not really the kind of positioning you want out of it. Well, another Atlanta has been pumped up over here. These units over here are still just sitting idly by. Maybe he's just ready to... That's just his trump card, really. I'm no doubt that's going to play a big part of this whole adventure. Those SACUs, though, they're going out, and they've reclaimed quite a bit, so Photon is not letting all this juicy reclaim go to waste. Those torpedo bombers, yet again, making their way to deal some damage. At least against this small group over here, but he definitely needs to be doing something to protect them. Well, there goes my Snapchat going off on my phone over by my drawer. The gunships retreat, but all those torpedo bombers are going to be shambled. They do deal quite a bit. Heavy losses there for Nappy. Still, you would think that he would try to punch back, or at least do something besides just sit there. Not a whole lot of action really going on Photon's end. It's really Nappy who's the instigator here. Maybe there's a subplot going on that's really not being told. An arc that has yet to be elaborated on. More strap bombers, just more air units. Overall, Nappy just has every little bit of this map under his gritty fingernails, although certain things seem to slip by. Oh, wait, hold up. Are they gonna... Oh my goodness. Unintentionally doing something to progress his situation, to advance his interests. Eventually there would be some sort of resolution to that, I guess. And, well, TML battery coming out from Nappy. But what exactly are they? They're just going straight after this battery of static air defense. And not even all, they're not all connecting either. They're just colliding. Wow. Doesn't fail to amuse me. This is really the joy and pleasure that comes out of this sort of ordeal. And look at all those TMLs just slapping against the mountain to side. But oh, here comes an engagement. Here comes something. I guess that was really the... Oh my goodness, what is this interaction? Oh, Nappy coming at probably the poorest angle imaginable. He does a little bit of damage, but truly fails to consider the terrain aspect. As more torpedo bombers flood from the Atlantises, surely Nappy's gotta be he's got to be clued in on something sort of fishy going on here. Maybe one of his air units are going to strafe by accidentally, and he'll grow a little bit aware. I say that, but Photon yet again. He is truly the one who foresees all, as his units amass from the darkness, from the fog of war. Wow, this is really... Even all the while, I've only slightly spoiled myself just by skimming over it. It never ceases to amaze me just how fascinating these games can go on. And here Nappy is really starting to understand, wait a minute. Now hold on a second, this can't be right. How could this happen? Oh, well, all of a sudden this plot point is really progressing into something. That nuke coming out of the base, a nuke that I did not at all see, going straight for that expansion. The immediate notice of that even existing, Nappy wants no part of it. He wants that no longer to exist, as he wipes it off the face of the earth. But the damage is already done. Look at how much of a naval presence he has now. Those torpedo bombers, even in spite of having all this air to contest with that, he is just slow to respond. Good grief. Even in spite of having this navy, he decides to just regroup back over at the main base. Maybe he wants to try to sling off the pressure coming from this island, regain some ground. But wow, you could just see the sheer and utter... Hold on a second. Oh, that's a little unfortunate. I hope that wasn't playing the whole time. Just had Snapchat call. But wow, this is really panning out to be something. A nuke that was sitting idly by all the while he's got two additional... Well, one of them is... That one is loaded up with two nukes. He could certainly make something happen. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, yes, two SMDs. One is probably going to be loaded pretty quick, and this one is already filled up. So Photon is pretty much strapped in. All along, this was a part of his plan. Do you understand now, FAF players? Do you understand just how truly formidable Photon can possibly be when he bids his time, and he thinks, and he schemes, and he schemes dubiously. This is a substantial navy. No battleships that I can tell, which is quite unfortunate. That would really do a lot of damage and very much help to retake these islands much quicker. Another drop attempt, though, but it goes without merit. Just this sheer amount of torpedo bombers, though, still, even in spite air superiority, just refuses to make anything come of it. His lackluster air superiority is really something that speaks for itself. I'm trying to keep an eye on what could possibly happen elsewhere. And yes, while there's definitely a substantial amount of cruisers here, those ASFs are quite quick, and they would make short work out of anything that comes within their range. So just quick sweep through the cloud of torpedo bombers would definitely solve that conundrum. Nappy is attempting, though, to reestablish himself. A monkey lord. Oh my goodness. A whole slew of T3 naval factories is going up. He's got two T3 HQs. Fascinating. All right. Well, nothing new that really glides by under the shitcast lens, but you know, we would be disappointed, to say the least, if we didn't have more than 2 HQs of something. And wow, those TML batteries, those strap bombers were really just a disaster, just waiting to happen. Nappi did not really anticipate how drastic of a failure that would turn out. There is a substantial amount of Navy, though, in response to the overwhelming number Photon has presented. Will this be enough? I mean, there's quite a bit of battleships. The torpedoes, I mean, it's weirdly enough, these aircraft carriers could really be making themselves useful if they weren't parked all the way back here. And oh my god, you see the substantial number of broadswords just erupting from the island. That's one way to put it, but god damn, do you see how quickly they deleted that battleship? I could not make a Premiere Pro slideshow, or at least transition, fade as quickly as how fast these battleships are just annihilating these battleships. Wow. Incredible. Nappi is just scared, though. He is terrified. I think it's just the PTSD now. Hasn't even settled in. He's already just suffering from the effects. I don't know what this this lone cruiser is going to do about those structures there, but I suppose it's more of it's more of comfort. Just insurance, just to make sure no other little weird sort of developments happen beyond his reach. Meanwhile, these other two are definitely just dormitory. Maybe this is a long-term, like this is stage 3. Who knows? Photon's Navy's definitely been reduced quite a bit. He's definitely suffering now, but so has Nappi's. He has lost so much as a result of the broadswords. These Monkey Lords, however, Photon should definitely start to become slightly concerned. He does have, he's got torpedo bombers, and I think that's exactly what they intend to do, to dispatch this increasingly problematic threat. The lurking problem that would come from a couple experimentals. I don't even know if he's aware about the second one. He might have an idea, though, and if they turn their attention quickly, they might be able to preemptively defeat that problem or dispose of it. Another strap bomber run. Oh, wow, this is just ramping up, isn't it? Everywhere all of a sudden is just all hell breaking loose. It is just pandemonium. I'm sorry, is that T3 artillery? That is T3 artillery, and I do not know where. Oh my god. So much is being lost upon me, and I cannot tell you if this is all that she wrote. There must be more on the way with all this madness brewing about. Those artillery units are firing like they know where this Monkey Lord is, and wow, they are actually making work of it. What in the world? That Monkey Lord is going to go down before anything happens. And here comes more battleships just being eviscerated. The second Monkey Lord goes down, and just in spite how much more Navy he's accumulated, they just vaporize. What is Nappi supposed to do? Well, he could have done a lot of things, but I really don't know. If I were in his shoes, I'd also be shitting bricks. Well, just barely tickle down a T3 UEF mechs. That's certainly one way to go about it. Yeah, those battleships, from the UEF would have been much more effective, although Neptunes are definitely not pushovers either. Very good versus T2 units. And even just T1 spam overall. But who needs that when you have fucking... How many broadswords is that? Jesus. 65 broadswords. Oh my goodness. Wow. Just the sheer amount of chaos that is boiling over. Another Monkey Lord is making his way. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a second here just to make sure all is well with the software and everything. Another batch of unfortunate souls. You know? Those torpedo bombers, plentiful, but short-lived. They definitely get their work done. Nappy should be well aware of... Or no, sorry, Photon should be well aware of what's going on here. It's not even like they know it's a Monkey Lord. The fact is just... Oh my god. These T3 artillery are just doing some nasty work on this Monkey Lord. Just even from the surface. From all the way up here and into the water. Nothing really escapes them. These T3 subs are moving, though. I do wonder if they intend to make a move. No doubt those strat bombers were trying to make something happen with dealing with the SMDs. The question is, can it be breached? Is Photon even defeatable? I'm not really sure at all. And here, the unspoken work of the graces of the T3 artillery from Photon are definitely pressuring his opponent. They're damaging stuff. The ACU must be somewhere in the water, or at least back at base. Somewhere away from the prying eyes of Photon. See, now there's a bit of firepower being brought in to try to attack from here, but really they're just skirting around the edges, and Nappy doesn't seem to learn his lesson. You know, every time he's done this, those broadswords have emerged from their hornet's nest, if you will, and just gone out doing God's work. Monkey Lord might try to make another pass, but he's already just taken so much damage. Positioning for these battleships, though, is definitely much better. All it takes now, though, is just Photon just reacting, truly. That's really what's going to come down to. He's got two, doesn't he? He's got 2 artillery installations. That is wild. I apologize for my lack of clairvoyance, but this is all too much to take in. Would Jagged be able to keep track of this nonsense? I wouldn't think so. If Jagged's watching this, I would... Well, hi, Jagged, first of all. Good to see. I occasionally swing by your streams just to check how my favorite streamer's doing. But, you know, just look at this mess. This is a caliber not even the pros are used to handling. And again, they probably handle this with a little bit more grace, if you will. That Monkey Lord has gone off to, well, lick his wounds, I suppose. All these battleships, though, look at how quickly they dissolve. But that T3 artillery goes down. There was enough firepower eventually. Oh my goodness, Here comes the broadswords, though. That TAC battery, I might have caught a glimpse of that action, but just as quickly as that artillery went, here comes the destruction of these T3 SACUs, popping like balloons. Only one of them escapes, though. Good grief. Bricks are going to try to punch through. This is going to be like Normandy. But they decide, you know what, we've learned the lessons of our forefathers, so we're not going to try at that. I mean, they succeeded, though, didn't they? So, like, why wouldn't you? try. Nappy has quite a bit of these T3. What is the timing? What is the timing of this? This is sheer madness. Look at the missiles that are flying in. The question is, are they going to be able to pierce this? There are so many missiles flying in, but so many to respond. This one SMD is truly the one carrying this. There might even be another one that I don't see. It is so hard to absorb. But there's just one missile silo in there, and he doesn't quite puncture through that. Maybe had he had that nuke up, which has already decimated this side of the base, he might have had a chance to really get through there. But that artillery has now redirected his attention towards the core base. There must be a second one, right? There it is, the second one. I was worried, or at least the third one. The second one was destroyed, but they've turned their attention towards the core base. There will be tons of damage dealt here. Wow, I'm at a loss for words for just how absolutely maddening this gameplay is really panned out to be. What a shitcast to return to. Well, here's another shot. Does he have what it takes, though? Another one just reloaded in that SMD, though. So even though that one's going to be shot down, and probably shot down by this one, yep, there's already another one just awaiting. These Atlantises, though, coming in clutch. They're going to start dealing some damage to this ASF force, which really need to be doing some work besides just loitering around. They are being peppered down, beaten and abused and neglected. Neglected by Nappy, no less. And already, just with 2 artillery installations, Nappy is suffering tremendous losses. Look at his power grid. He has lost most of his power. Even having quite a handful, 19 RAS SACUs, he cannot maintain the power upkeep needed to keep his prolonged assault going. Eventually, he could cave in. With how many nukes, no doubt, he's building. Question is, Photon even really keeping up as well? Well, he's floating comfortably. I think he's just sort of like, this is just a simulation to him. Preordained, if you will. Photon, no doubt, sees the victory. He's not even playing for assassination at this point. He's looking for demoralization. Even so, it's hard not to feel a bit sense of demoralization in the face of how many naval units Nappy has cooked up. But then again, what does that matter when Photon just casually just strolls in with all these gunships? 65, the same number as before. Even in the face of all these AFSFs, he just decides, fuck it, solo mission. And they're going to mop up. Look at how much mass is just being wasted. Easily, roughly 10 battleships just in this cluster are going to be lost to Photon's gunships. It's hard to be alert to what's going on all around, although it definitely has, the pace has definitely come to a sort of slow grind. That Monkey Lord is definitely not getting back on his feet anytime soon, but neither are these battleships. They're going to meet their watery grave in a matter of seconds. Wow. And with that, I'd say you've got to look at how there's definitely some high veterancy broadswords in that cluster, and it's like he barely lost any. Now, how many freaking ASFs does he have? 2 of them. considering that Photon has barely mustered his own ASFs to respond, I mean, I think it's just been a matter of just letting the Atlantises and all the other units do the work for him. Why have air superiority when Nappy just doesn't even enforce his own? Good grief. This is spectacle. Am I qualified to call this truly one of the 7 wonders of the world? I think there's 8 now. Make that 9. This game and Photon. Photon is just an adversary, just not worth taking on. If you value your own life, then Photon is not the enemy to stand against. You gotta admit though, Nappy's still keeping on with just how many of these submarines that he's got, these nuclear submarines. Some of these must already have missiles in them. Yes, they do. But his attention must be drawn towards the SMDs, which might be the clear conscience decision that he needs to make to try to deal with this problem. T3 artillery has redirected their attention towards this island. This has allowed him to at least sort of recover, even though he's lost substantial amounts of power. Here comes another swarm of torpedo bombers. Good grief. It is as though this bloodbath cannot be satiated. Photon requires constant sacrificial lambs, and Nappy is there to deliver. His ACU must be hiding somewhere. Definitely not in a terribly comfortable spot to be putting himself in, but he's definitely making himself useful. I think he's well aware of the danger here. Photon's ACU is definitely sitting back where his Navy's position, which is now just tucked away. No aggression from Photon. Even in spite, just casually swatting away T3 battleships after T3 battleship. He couldn't be bothered to handle just winning the game. He wants his opponent to control K at this point. But Nappy is a strong-willed individual. I will give him credit where credit is due. He is persistent. Look at all these TMLs, though. No doubt from the submarines. That alone is definitely something that could take out these structures. I'm not sure why Nappy has not considered the potential value here. They are positioned well within range. And unfortunately, Photon underestimates just how severely powerful those submarines, especially Cybran, how much damage they can deal. I guess his only response or retort to these broadswords whooping his ass is just building all the, just not PD creeping, T3 static AA creeping. That's his only real solution to the problem. Wow. All these things sort of panning out on screen, and you can't help but think, where did it all go wrong? Was it you? Was it me? Who was it? Photon could not be to blame here. He's the orchestrator of all these things. If you will, he just sort of, he's not the composer, he's the why can't I say it? He's the player, you know? He's the conductor. That's what I was looking for. You know, he's not a composer, he's the conductor. He acts. And as you will, and here we have some resemblance of an assault, a direct assault by Photon with these gunships, or broadswords. One and truly the same. 71 of these, to be exact. Now the pressure is on. Photon may have finally realized that maybe he needs to relieve some of this pressure on him by pushing his units off to deal with this. Meanwhile, where in the world is Nappy's Air Force? 49 of these ASFs. Will they be able to handle this? They sort of swing on to where the broadswords used to be, but now it's beyond him at this point. These units push in, and I think he is actually using these submarines to actually try to assault the position. And here comes the broadswords. Nappy, wake up, my man. Where's your Air Force? It's hard to really keep track of this theater all at once, but really is something to behold. I want to sort of take in for a second just how ridiculous this situation is. Here we are, enabling split screen. And it is just something else. These battleships now are really pressuring. They are starting to deal some substantial damage to the core base, and Photon might be starting to sweat a little bit, but these broadswords still just absolutely hemorrhaging his opponent, destroying his opponent. Nappy is just... What is Nappy doing with his ASFs? Where are you going? It is like they are AFK. Oh my goodness. There's even a satellite up here. Now I just noticed there was an SMD that just dropped. This might be his chance. Meanwhile, there's only probably 3 or 4 that properly engaged that swath of broadswords, but still nothing done about them. They've cleaved a clear path all the way around and destroyed most of Nappy's eco. He just does not have a clear conscience to decide how he should be handling this, as even more and more torpedo bombers, and he just pulls them away, left alone to yet again to just resume their prolonged assault. This is absolutely astonishing. Actually, there goes the nukes. The nukes are finally being released, and this is truly the beginning of the end for Photon. I think this is finally the opportunity that Nappy needed to breach into the impenetrable defense of Photon's infamous, just his cornerstone. Like, it's just his base. How is this possible? There's just a glitch in the matrix. My God, it's finally been done. The siege is over. Look at how much he has completely wiped the island clean of any resistance. Photon truly must be... Yes, he is now finally facing repercussion. And even in spite the impressive onslaught of just these torpedo bombers, really the spectacle remains to be seen just with how unresolved this situation is with the broadswords. Meanwhile, here's his ASFs, here's the broadswords. Why are they not dead? Why are they not dead? I cannot imagine. Are they going to wipe out this entire core island? These have already single-handedly wiped out 3 islands on their own. Photon is now just sort of clambered down. He's stuck. And the broadswords, they're just going to resume what they've just been doing. It's been an hour and 46 minutes. 47, sorry. It's almost been 2 hours. And here comes the broadswords. ASFs, all parked at the front lines. And now I don't know where his attention has been drawn to or how a simple attack move order or patrol could not have handled this situation. But well and truly, this is something that has gone on for far too long. Is this a cruel joke? And now their numbers are starting to get to the point where it's actually somewhat manageable. Is this finally the end of the gunship legacy? That is it. After all this time, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally over. The rampaging gunships have finally been defeated. Single-handedly, the reason Photon has probably remained in this game, or rather, just simply Nappy not having the sense to fucking kill them. Ugh. Had Nappy let them rampage any longer, I fear like this would be, he would have lost everything. About all he came prepared for was just to build static AA to let him handle the air supremacy themselves or whatever. Jeez. Well, this might be the end. This is, after almost an hour and 50 minutes, they have been reduced to mere shadows, just rubble, or the rubbles of what they once were. Photon and his bastion is now but all completely eradicated, as now his ACU moves in tow with his navy to make one last final ditch effort to defeat his opponent. Fine, I'll do it myself, says Photon. Oh, wow. I mean, at this point, this is anyone's game, although his ACU is lagging behind. Maybe there was one step into this whole plan that Photon was lacking, and that's bringing his ACU along with his own primary defensive force, his only remaining defensive force. There is nothing else. Actually, there's his contingency plan number 2, just developing down here, but I think it's much too late for that. Well, his Atlantises, all these units, are progressively pushing forward. Meanwhile, his ACU is lagging behind, and no doubt Nappy has set his sights on him. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most impressive display of shitcasting. Not from me, but just from the players themselves. You've got to hand it to these guys. These players are one of the best I've seen in a long time. At least in this category. This form of entertainment is well and truly the pinnacle of what any and all of us would ever hope to see in shitcasting all around. This is the final straw. The conclusion has finally arrived, and Photon has been defeated. OMG. How did you do that? I'm at a loss for words for what this entire thing has panned out to be, but I'm satisfied. I think this is a great reintroduction back into shitcasting, and I'm so happy if you've stuck along this arduous journey. Wow. I cannot believe it has gone on for this long. It has been really something else. Nappy, he stuck to it. He stuck to his guns and really put on a show. Photon, damn near impenetrable, but he had some slip-ups. Quite the understatement, but this was just an exciting thing to watch and behold, and I hope that this was entertaining for you guys. I hope to make more of these now, because you know what? It's revitalizing to get back into this and see what sort of shenanigans unfold. And We don't need to see drama. We don't need to see anything else to go on with FAF. All we need to do is just see some entertaining gameplay and just enjoy ourselves, right? That's all it boils down to at the end of the day. So, I'm glad you stuck around, and I look forward to doing much more with this with you all in the near future. All right, take care, guys.